Sorry to see me getting blasted in my eyes here. This is great, guys. The sun is covering exactly here, so I can't see shit to do. This is a great sort of stream. I'm the messiah, look at me. I got the power of the sun in my face. Awesome. Anyway, guys, hello everyone. It was time to do another Rose video. Another great thing talking about the Annie Awards. So you might be thinking, what's the Anime Awards? It's the sun up here, the press the sun. What is the Annie Awards, right? What is it about? How does it relate to anime and so on, or whatever, right? Video games. You know, most of my channel is about video games and, of course, anime, right? And manga. But the Annie Awards, then, as the name is said, and I mean, let's be honest immediately. No one cares, okay? No one actually takes these things seriously, okay? No one in their right mind would care about the Annie Awards, because you all know that it's like the Oscars for the worst, right? And everyone knows that the Oscars is like, oh yeah, Boss Baby, whatever. No one takes the Oscars seriously either. You just imagine that, for example, it's a brief point here. The Oscars, they had Parasite win. Parasite is an amazing movie. It's probably the best live-action movie I've seen in, I don't know, 20 years. It is truly a masterpiece. And I don't say this because it's Korean or whatever. I really, really love Parasite. I've seen it many times. It's a movie I got my mom to see, so right. So that finally won, you know, best movie of the year, kind of Oscars, right? And people were like, oh yeah, finally, you know, a foreign movie won. But I tell you, Parasite is a pretty new movie. And I can tell you, from my opinion, there's been a lot of movies that has been released for, you know, many years that has been the best movie that wasn't specifically from America, right? The Annie Awards is kind of like, you know, animation or anime and so on, right? But kind of like the Oscars, right, for animation instead. And of course, immediately, we all know that they're not really gonna care about anime and so on, right? They're not gonna care about, you know, Mushoku Tensei or, you know, basically, right? They're not gonna care about that stuff. They're not gonna care about, I don't know, you know, One Piece or whatever. Of course they aren't. Of course they're not gonna care about that to some extent. But they do have anime and so on sometimes, though. Right? So, but that being said, I'm gonna do a quick little roast later on nomination. I kind of mostly wanna rant and roast a little bit, you know, about the premise itself here, I feel, right? Because this is still supposed to be the best animation this year, right? This is the foundation, right? It's a kind of, you know, they have all the money and so on, and they're nominating and judging and agreeing on what is the best animation, right? And animation, this thing could be both anime, CGI, blah blah blah, you know, stop motion, all of this stuff, right? Is included. They even have video game categories to some extent, right? So they're including all of this, right? There is, you know, in this field, all these different genre, right? Yet, of course, you would imagine that, thinking like, wait, best animation? So something maybe like, I don't know, Demon Slayer maybe could win that. That was a pretty legit, you know. But the guy has 3 wives, right? And that did add this year. What about Rengoku then? Yeah, or, you know, so on. You get my point. Like, nothing of this is gonna be in there. It's like nothing of, like, obviously, it takes stuff like Dragon Maid, okay? We have my little, you know, Kanna-chan here, right? You know what I love my Kanna-chan. Go in here and see here. Oh yeah, that's stuff. Yeah. So of course, you know, Kanna, for example, right? Think you're ever gonna nominate something like Dragon Maid? Because I would argue, right? I said it in my Crunchyroll Roses on too. I would argue that Dragon Maid is better animated than Demon Slayer, right? Like, it's an amazing animation fight scene and so on. Right, for you know, those parts like Elma and Toru and so on fighting, right? But would they ever, you know? But also they have big tits, right? You know, they have Ilulu. Would they? But then they have Ilulu, okay? They have this like flame-set dragon, you know, and that immediately makes that they can't win, right? It doesn't matter if it has the better animation, and so I want to say that first, right? I really hate all these, you know, anime awards, all this crap, right? Crunchyroll, even Reddit and so on too, right? Because it's always pretentious bullshit, and we all know that it has no actual value, right? We all know that it has no actual, like, objective, whatever, how objective you can be, it's, you know, it's a discussion, right? But we know that it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what is objectively the best animation. It doesn't matter if it has the best storyline or whatever, right? It's all about, like, okay, we cannot have something like, you know, Ghislaine, right? She can't be here, the anime awards, right? So, for example, look what I thought about a lot in the Crunchyroll roles or something, I love the videos like that. They completely basically pretend, right, that Mushoku doesn't exist, for example. That's the most notorious case. But they're also kind of ignorant on a lot of other animes too, right? But yeah, it's very, very common that they basically pretend that this anime barely exists, right? Or whatever, not to mention it. And of course, animes like Goblin Slayer, never gonna mention. But one thing though, I say it before we start talking about Arcane and so on, is that one thing I think is very, very clear in all of these award systems, even on Reddit award, with the judges, is that they love to do this thing that I call the consolidation of nominations, right? Because here in the anime awards, they do the exact same shit that you do find in Crunchyroll and so on too, which is like, I briefly hit them out, right? We're gonna go over the list together soon here, but I'm just gonna say that I briefly hit them out. And Arcane, of course, comment Arcane soon here. Arcane, of course, is the winner of half the categories, right? And that to me is just bullshit. And not because Arcane is terrible or whatever. It's just that why would Arcane be in every goddamn category? You know what I mean? And that's just exactly how Crunchyroll does it too, right? Crunchyroll Anime Award, it's the same thing. They have like Wonder Egg, Megalobox and one basically. They have Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer. It's like in every category, right? And usually the reason why they do that in all of these judges inside is because they're goddamn lazy, right? Instead of having these, like, let's say for anime, we had 10 animes, they were great per season. That's 40 animes, right? 4 times 10, 40 animes that are good, of course, arguably, but let's say 40, good, I think, value for last year. Yet, in the anime awards, they have like maybe 8 or 9, like 10 animes even mentioned, right? Because they completely sort of ignore, and that makes no sense to me. Because even if I would say that, okay, this anime here is not the best anime, but in comedy it is better, right? In this anime, like some animes I feel are better as like general total anime, but it might not be the funnest anime, like it's the third funnest anime. It might have the best action scene, but it's the second best, so on, right? So if you have categories like best action, best comedy, and so on, it's really weird to have the exact same anime in basically all the categories. Right? And that's very, very Crunchyroll. And also, to some extent, then, Annie Awards too, because they're gonna have like Arcane in every goddamn category, right? And now let's talk about Arcane. So, I'll say it immediately, people are gonna get angry, like, oh, how can you hate Arcane or whatever? So I don't hate Arcane. I don't find Arcane that bad, right? But I don't find Arcane to be the best thing in everything. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. Like, Arcane isn't the best animation last year. It isn't the best whatever, like characters, like clearly not best. It is not the best storyline. Absolutely not. It's one thing I say about Arcane is that the storyline is definitely where it is the weakest. It's slow paced, absolutely the worst thing of it. It's slow paced, but it also has a predictable storyline. V is kind of a boring main character. I play a lot of League, right? Almost like Mushoku is the best character. Why couldn't he be the main character? Right? But honestly, as a an experienced League guy that played League for like 10 years, not every year, but I played it since the closed beta, I would say that the biggest surprise for me, before I even watched Arcane, was that why is it that Caitlyn and V and so on being the main focus? And maybe Jinx, I guess it's just a lot of waifu plus, I don't know. I guess it's popular and they're making a lot of money on Jinx art or something, I don't know, and skins, right? But I felt like I never seen these characters as like the League's face, right? You know what I mean? They weren't even in the game when I started playing the game, right? In the beginning. I would see something like Tryndamere and Ash or something, I don't know. But that, I digress. But my point is that I generally speaking, from a gamer standpoint, one thing I miss in Arcane, not really critique on it, I suppose, but is that I missed a lot of champions. I missed like, okay, they're mentioning assassins. Why can't like Talon or Shaco or something appear? Why can't they have like an assassin character from the game appearing? Oh, they're mentioning this Hextech thing. Why can't this character appear? I really actually honestly missed. I thought that actually the animation actually lacked a lot of these cameos, right? I think they lacked. I think they had too little of that. That would always be my biggest critique on Arcane. That from an actual league gamer standpoint, I'm just like, where's all the characters, And why is he sleeping with this woman? I've never seen that before. Sleeping with one of the game characters. I'm just like, there's one issue with Arcane, generally speaking. But otherwise, Arcane isn't this masterpiece in my opinion, right? But it's a pretty good show, but not the best show ever. But that's why it's kind of silly, right? Because you're like, Arcane isn't the best thing in everything. Maybe it could win 1 or 2 categories, but I think it's gonna win like half the categories, right? And that's just kind of silly. Arcane is not worthy of winning every category. It feels to me like it's very similar to Anime Awards. We nominate only a few animes and do things with it. So that's the first thing I want to say, really, right? That I don't hate Arcane, but I don't see it as nearly as good, for example, as in the writing, potentially, separate, or in action, Jujutsu Kaisen, Boogie Woogie, for example, or of course, Demon Slayer. And one thing too I have to say really here with Arcane, people say, oh, you hate Arcane. No, but one thing I don't though with Arcane is the fights when it comes to the actual like choreography and so on. The fights look decent in Arcane, but what they do lack is cool abilities. Okay, again, this might be me because I play on League, but I feel like these characters they put in the actual show, Arcane and V, are like the most boring characters in the game. Right? V is like, oh, I just punched with my fist. Super boring from a visual standpoint. Right? There's so many cooler characters, cool abilities, and when you look at a fight like, for example, Kaisen, Boogie Woogie, Todo and teleporting and so on. That fight is both well animated, much better animated than any Arcane fight, but also, of course, the actual choreography and the abilities and the flow of it is much, much, much better, right? And of course, Demon Slayer, especially this year, Demon Slayer, it's a million times better than Arcane, right? From a visual standpoint, and also how it moves and everything. So that's something you can't just ignore. And people love to be like, but they want to argue why Arcane is better than Kaisen and Boogie Woogie, and they're like, oh, but like look at how her fingers are moving. Yeah, but it's a boring fight. Just punching a guy, it's really, really boring. Like it has fun abilities. The choreography is boring and so on, and all the things that music and soundtrack and all that during an action scene has to also be included, right? You can't just look at purely the cell shading of her shadow or something. Come on, you have to look at all of the details, right? Everything, all the factors. So that's my Arcane thing. But again, I don't hate Arcane. I watched all of it, right? I liked for the most part. The slow pacing was probably what I liked the least about it. And also the lack of many characters, right? For example, I tried to watch the Netflix Cowboy Bebop, and that I couldn't even get through episode 2, right? That's what I really hate something. Or I hate it that it's boring too, right? Cowboy Bebop, I couldn't even get it through, okay? I was trying to watch it, right? God, that's my man. Gonna get some detail. I was trying to watch Cowboy Bebop, but I couldn't even finish it, okay? I couldn't even get through episode 2. That's how bad it was. Think about that. But anyway, that's one thing, okay? Now lastly, before we go to the list, it's all about värdegrund, okay? I said it before all the streams. Värdegrund, I love this word. It's a word you can't translate, but it's an extremely common word in Sweden, right? Even political and TV. So värdegrund means like word of foundation, and basically in Sweden, if you don't have the correct värdegrund, they're just gonna censor you and ignore you in Sweden. It's incredibly, common, right? So you can see something as kind of the epithet of the symbol of, woke, SUV, left-wing stuff, right? In Sweden, so basically, if you don't have the right värdegrund, you're gonna be on TV, right? That's what Sweden is, and incredibly TV. Because combining the issue of political correctness with jantelag Sweden. I don't talk too much here, but basically, it's a lovable word in Sweden that means a lot of this stuff, right? And that I want to say again, of course, any awards are never gonna have Rudy. Rudy, he makes girls cry, It's a sex scene in Tensei, so it can never be included, right? And that, I think, again, is why the Annie Award is an utter joke, right? Even before I go into the list here, this is an utter joke shit, because you have a list here of his nominations, right, of the best animations, of best, whatever, CGI and so on, best anime and so on, right? And it's like, oh, but every anime where the character has sex can't be included, right? And that also means that if you go through an Annie Awards back in the past, right, do you think that Berserk can win this? Black Hero can win this? No. So every seinen, grown-up anime can never win, right? Any movie, for that matter, that is basically more a grown-up, anime movie, right? And more hardcore, Kitty Baby, who knows what, can never win, right? And that's just silly. So how can you say that? What if I did an anime, right? Which has the amazing budget of, let's say, 10 times Arcane's budget. It's such high budget. And it's an amazing action scenes, amazing animation, every scene, the finger, the eyes, right? Like basically, objectively, it's the most expensive, greatest animation ever, right? But it's a sex scene in episode 3, right? Then it can never win, Which doesn't make any sense, because if you have an award system for best animation, but it's like, it's a girl and girls over there, we can't have the win, right? So that's ridiculous. And so that's the main reason, right? Like, Ghislaine and so on is always gonna make this anime never win, right? And on the same time, this system here is very, very similar, right, to Crunchyroll. And with the whole värdegrund, work definition, right? In the sense that one reason why Arcane is gonna win almost everything is because it basically has like a, lesbian Yuri bait main character. It has the V and Caitlyn kind of a lesbian kind of love story, right? To some extent, right? That's what's gonna win, right? Strong female main character. I'm not saying it's wrong having a strong female main character. I'm just saying that all these awards, right? They've also checked the box, right? And that's very, very similar to the Crunchyroll that has like best girl, Lily, even though obviously Saki is much better best girl, right? But Lily has a dick, right? So Lily has a penis, and that's why she's the best girl, right? That's how they think, right? Every goddamn year. So it's very, very common with these categories. But one thing though, before we go to the list now, I have to say it's very, very obvious why this shit wins to the same with the Oscars, and why it's actually a joke, right? And no one should ever take it seriously. So anyways, it's virtual this year, blah blah and so on. But if you go down here in the list, here's the sponsors, okay? So who is sponsoring it? Cartoon Network, animation, DreamWorks, and here we go. Okay, Disney is sponsoring it, Pixar, Open Disney. And here's like, if you see, remove Ghislaine there. Riot Games is the sponsor, so you have to just laugh at it. This is also so stupid, and also it feels very Crunchyroll, okay? So, I mean, if you take the anime award seriously, you're crazy, right? We could always argue how good Arcane is or whatever. We can have discussion, right? Maybe I make an Arcane review, right? Again, I don't hate Arcane. I just don't think it's the best in everything, doesn't make any sense. But in the end of it, right, Riot Games themselves, which is owned by Tencent, the biggest Chinese corporation in the world, that's Alibaba, right, which is worth like billions of dollars, right? Tencent is a gigantic, machine, right? It owns so much stuff, right? So Riot Games, or then actually Tencent, which also is partially Chinese government, but whatever, is sponsoring the event, right? So this event is heavily sponsored by Tencent, by the Chinese government. It's one of the biggest sponsors they have, and also Disney. And you wonder why it's like the Disney movies and Riot Game, yeah, it's a little, you wonder why this stuff wins. You're like, huh. Yeah, exactly. They gave the awards to themselves, right? This is the end of the line, right? We can discuss how good Arcane is. For example, I was back in my hometown for like 2-3 days at winter, and I had, best shit on me, right? So there was this like private party. There actually was like a huge party, but because his son, he was the son of the owner of this gigantic like nightclub, so he had his own party, whatever. So I was there, and I talked to guys, right? I was walking around in my badass Ghislaine shirt, so everyone's like, "Yeah, anime, bro! Let's talk about anime, right?" And of course, a lot of those people there were into League of Legends, because they're a little younger than me, like 5 years younger than me, and most of them, and also of course anime. So we had a lot of discussion, arcade versus this anime versus that anime, and so on, right? We had a lot of discussion. But end of the line is it doesn't matter, right? At the end of the line, it doesn't matter to have a discussion if Arcane is good or bad or whatever. If Riot Games themselves is the one paying for the award, it is. They're just giving themselves the award, right? It's kind of like you see the one where Biden, which is again Obama and Biden, where you get the president. What's it called? Man, have you seen the one when Biden gives? It has to be public domain, right? Biden Medal of, isn't it like the President Award of Freedom or something? And this is not a critique on Biden or a critique, I'm saying this is not a critique on Biden or Obama or whatever. But I'm just saying that I think this is kind of funny, right? Here it is, yeah. I think it's kind of funny. It's like, I mean, again, I'm not saying that Biden or Obama is the president, whatever. I'm just saying that this kind of thing where the president gives the vice president at that time, right? President, vice president. Whatever, they're giving, this is like giving yourself the award. They're like, man, you've been a great colleague. Here's the award for being the best president after me. It feels kind of weird. And then Biden give it back to Obama. It's just like, okay, you give me a medal, I'll give you a medal. It's just really silly, right? It just feels like it has no value. Oh yeah, great, you. We just give it to each other back and forth, right? But this is also how it is, right? And of course, all the judges. Yeah, let's take with that. I'm stuttering. For that matter, think about that, right? The judges, also for the matter, they usually work in industry. It's called, assets media, right? And of course, they have connection to Disney. Either they work there. For example, one judge. I mean, this is completely my head, but very, very likely, one judge is probably a judge, but also a writer, right? At something like a Disney writer, maybe. I don't mean writer as in the movies, but I mean, writing to kind of Disney blog, right? Or some text editor for Disney Twitter or whatever. That's usually the job they have, right? If they're young, right? So of course they also want to be like, oh yeah, Disney, Pixar, the same company these days, are very good company. Let's give them a plus here. It is a lot like that too, right? They basically own the whole industry, and the colleagues and so on that work in there are. Probably a judge. Sorry, it's got my own. Sorry, I get my own beautiful voice there. The Mario movie is gonna suck though, but I don't know. Honestly, I'll say this thing here. I'm a huge fan of the main character, Mario. No, but I like Chris Pratt. Right? I do really like him. I really love Guardians of the Galaxy. And I keep saying it, I really love Peacemaker, with James Gunn of course, and John Cena and so on, right? I played Peacemaker. So maybe I loved Galaxy because it's James Gunn, probably more so than Chris Pratt. But I do actually like it, and I love Parks and Recreation, where his breakthrough kind of comedy show, right? Which is a really good comedy show. So I actually do really like Chris Pratt. So I think actually I'm gonna like the Mario movie, because I actually think that Chris Pratt is just a great comedic actor. So if the Mario movie is mostly comedy, I think it actually might be really good from a comedy standpoint. Is it gonna be very Mario-ish? I don't know, right? But from a comedy standpoint, I feel Chris Pratt can make it happen. But anyway, so we look at the list here. But yeah, these are Mario companies too. It's actually, honestly, I find it's kind of weird. Obviously, of course, Sony is also sponsoring them. They're also part of the winners. But actually, I think it's kind of weird. So Disney is the gold sponsor, and silver is also Disney. Like, I don't know how this actually works. They sponsored both. This is even worse. I mean, so this thing here says, animation studio Disney, right? And this is just Disney. Like, what does this mean? Like, what does this mean? That Disney is both sponsoring. I guess there's like one daughter, one daughter company and the other company something. But anyway, Disney has been such a big sponsor. They're sponsoring both categories. something like that. Yeah, the Sonic. It's interesting because I always really like Sonic actors for games too. Yeah, but the Sonic movie is really good. Freaking that movie is awesome, and I want to see, of course, Jim Carrey too. Well, potentially it's the best writing game I'm talking about. Potentially it's by far the best written anime last year, easily. And this year, of course, Osama ranking, and that's something too, right? They're never gonna nominate something Osama ranking. And yeah. Before we watch the list now, let me do my last rant here. East against the West, right? Good. Osama ranking. It triggered my my ultimate rant mode. No, but the thing is, right, that the thing about anime, like here, okay, we see Jean here, right? We see Jean, best character title, most nuanced character, right? One thing that I would say that I'm speaking generally speaking here, right? Generally speaking, the one thing that anime does really well, right, is, of course, nuanced characters. This is actually a cultural thing. So let me before I go to the list here, because I love doing this rant, but seriously, Japan, generally speaking, is better at writing anything because of the cultural standpoint. And what I mean with that is that, let's see, Japan is very gray zone, okay? When they write something, they have a nuanced character, right? This character is evil. Here's his sad backstory, This is very One Piece, right? It's very, very that. For Battle Alchemist, I think, almost in particular, show that everyone is a sad backstory, whatever, right? Demon Slayer, everyone is this thing and so on, you know what I mean? That's very, very Japan, right, America is the opposite. It's very, very black and white. In America, it's like, oh, here's the good guy, here's the bad guy, and they fight, and the bad guy is effing evil, and then they kill him, you know what I mean? America, the West in American sense, are very, very, black and white, okay? However, and I said this thing, some backstory here, I'm from Europe, right? I grew up in Sweden, and part of my family, also for that matter, is Belgium and France, right? And if one thing that Europe does is in the middle, okay? It's not as grey as Japan, or East Asia generally speaking, and Korea and so on too, but Europe, and especially Belgian comics like Torgal, are very also grey zoney, right? They're more grey zoney than America, but not as much, right? So I think, for example, for me personally, growing up on especially Belgian comics as a kid, Spirou, Tintin, or whatever, but also the other stuff too, like the Torgal, my favorite Belgian comic. I love Torgal. Torgal amazing. And that to me immediately made me like, Japanese video games, right? JRPG, fantasy, so on, right? And of course, anime manga. But it's much more similar to that. The grey zone, who's evil, who's the bad guy, and so on, right? And especially this anime, also my ranking, of course, last year, this year's best anime I've worked for, right? Is incredibly nuanced, right? What is healing? Is she good? Is she evil? Because she's very good. But in the beginning, there's evil. Bossa? Miriano? You're almost like, who's the goddamn bad guy? Everyone is just a victim and so on, right? Where in most American shows, it's much more black and white, right? They don't have that nuance at all. And that's a difference, right? And that's why I always find it so comedically sad, right? We get into this kind of anime awards or whatever. It's always like, this is bullshit. Because we all know that the Pixar movies or whatever, they might be good, but basically we all know that almost every year you can find a much better written story, right, in like 10 animes than you can find in a random Disney movie. Come on, Jesus Christ. You don't even have to like Mushoku Tensei or Osama Ranking or Zero or that's it too, right? You don't even have to love these specific animes, but I think everyone can agree on that. But this anime is probably better than this thing. This is better than Arcane or whatever, right? Because, for example, Arcane is very, very black and white. Arcane is very Western, right? It's very, very, in that sense, it's not the worst anime ever, but I think the writing is very, very boring. It's very predictable. Who's the good, who's the bad guy, she goes crazy, they fight, the end. Yeah, it's incredibly predictable. It doesn't have any nuance, basically, right? It's basically zero nuance in that anime, or animation, right? So I think that... No, but that's bullshit, man. Arcane is super predictable with the main character. And the bad guy isn't... The villains are terrible in Arcane. The villains Arcane are like, oh, he wants to care about million the money or whatever. I mean, it's the most basic, very, very much like, I'm just gonna get money here and go over here, right? And they still have the exact same agenda and so on. There's nothing... If you think that Arcane has good villains, you had never seen something like One Piece, right? Or even more, also rank example. We see Boss's storyline, Miriam's storyline, like this crazy talk. You have to see. If you think Arcane has good villains, it means that you have never seen proper villains, or something even better. Golden Kamui, okay, or Gata, something, right? There you have some really, really interesting bad guys. That's my agree with. Arcane is very cliche, or very cliche. It's cliche, but it's well done, right? But Arcane has, but what do you think Arcane makes? How can you say Arcane is worse than the better potentially? What makes Arcane good? Except that it's just like highly budgeted produced stuff. What makes it better? The characters are very straightforward. The pacing is terrible. I said that's my worst, always the worst for me with Arcane. That the pacing is just terrible. Like you can basically skip like half the episodes always. Especially the first 3 episodes until episode 3. All nothing happens. And one thing with Arcane, I think we didn't say about, is that it's very, very slow paced, and then it's like a one big massive fight, right? And then it's like nothing happens for 3 episodes, and then it's one big massive fight. There has this like really, really slow build up, and nothing happens, and then like a slow build up, something happens, right? And that is kind of boring. It has terrible writing, and every character is a goddamn trope. So on. That being said, though. It reminds me of something like Attack now, which is like when the rumbling is gonna happen is Yama. 10 episodes from now we have the rumbling. But anyway, healing, that's like real character. Jesus Christ, that's an organic character. Then we have some more thing, Nickelodeon or whatever. Now let's go up here. Okay, let's look at the list. How do I here it is, yeah. Best feature. Okay. So here I will say though that I can understand that anime has a hard time to win. To be fair, okay? I'm gonna go quickly through the list, guys. But I would say it's fair that best feature anime has a harder time, right? Because they don't have that many movies. Mostly anime is, of course, produced as a shows, right? But one thing though, which is also kind of weird, is that the Annie Awards, where the strength for the West, right, is the movies, right? Because they have the Pixar and Disney and so on, the same company. But they have that, the production, right, of doing big movies. But what they lack, I would say, is of course in a TV show. They have Arcane, they have Castlevania, and so on. They have, they really have like a weak shows, right? The future is the strength of the West, right? So here I can actually see why they have why they actually might ignore animes. That being said, though, like you also the Tiger in Castle and so on. So they have some decent movies, right? A few years, but that's the best part of anime, the sex stuff. But the issue, though, of course, mainly speaking, is that just because you have sex stuff, because you have a sexy female character, suddenly the writing is bad or whatever, right? Which is ridiculous. Or even more so, or you have like a great fight scene, it doesn't count because there was some boobs in it. that's how they are at. But anyway, best feature, who wins? Oh yeah, so this is the other big thing, right? This movie and Sony, remember that Sony is also one of the sponsors for the whole awards, right? They're also paying to win, right? Which is the same with Oscars. Disney. For that, if you didn't know that, Disney owns the whatever. Who asked the Disney Oscars? But whatever. It's like ABC or something like that. Disney owns that company. Yeah. So Disney sponsoring Oscars and also the Anime Awards, and they also own the TV show, the TV studio, right, that is producing the Oscars and everything. So they are the sponsors and the producers. They're everything with the Oscars. Okay, Disney is like everything with the Oscar. They have all the parts. They're like the every moving part is Disney. Okay, the money, the production, the director, everything is Disney. It's ridiculous. This is basically the same thing. But yeah, so one thing here that you can see immediately here, which again reminds me of the Crunchyroll example, is that you're gonna see, right, that they have an issue, I feel, or I have to say objectively, honestly, objectively speaking, is that they consider late, right? They consider late on very few stuff. It's the exact same issue that Crunchyroll has. So we're gonna see now that they're gonna have the Michelin and the machines, right? For example, it's gonna be normally like 10 categories, right? They also have an issue with they kind of have a few things and then they put it in every category, right? And one reason why is because, for example, in Crunchyroll, I don't know for a fact, is that, most judges don't even watch this stuff. You know what I mean? Most judges are like, okay, what is the 10 animes I need to watch to be able to judge stuff? Or even if they watch 10 animes, right? Oh, it's 10 animes. And then someone's like, oh, have you seen Nagatoro? It's really funny. I watched that. Okay, have you seen Dragon Maid? I watched that. They don't even watch story comedy. And they're like, best comedy? I don't know, like One Piece. They don't even watch the anime. That's usually how it is. But one reason why is that we have to only watch 5 movies and have to judge them. So anyway, Michelin Machine, I think is fine. Okay, the movies is the weak spot. Best indie feature. It's always like a weird thing when they make. What is indie? Okay, but it's like small production studio companies. I don't even know how to. I don't care. But here immediately, okay, best special production. Okay, again, this is not a weird category. You're like, wow, what is this? And best short. Okay, so best short. This is something I was found very strange with the Oscars too, where this is like, oh, this thing is like 1 minute long, and you know what it reminds me of? It really reminds me of the Reddit Anime Awards we also did last month, where they also had like best short or something, and it was really weird because in the Reddit Anime Awards they had like some of the shorts were like really short, like a minute, and some other short were like 30 minutes. You're like, that's not a short. That's like a whole episode. They were like, no, it's only one episode or something. It was very, very strange. But I feel the same thing here too, right? But here again, here I could definitely anime. Here anime easily could win. There are a couple of short animes, right? I have to say again, I don't know exactly how they even judge this thing, or the rules for it. But certainly there are a couple of animes. They were on like 1 episode last year, and some of them were short, like 2 minutes or whatever, right? Would they count here? I don't know. I'm putting it out that I wish there could be a little more, best sponsor category. It's like the whole thing is owned by Disney and Sony and so on. But I just love like this is the best sponsored thing we did. This is like the award to the award. This is like it was an Inception now. They're like the whole anime. The whole anime awards, right, is sponsored by themselves. Oh, sorry for the scroll. Let me turn it off the scroll. Derp. The whole Annie Award, again, right? The whole Annie Award is just themselves sponsoring it. Here it is. It's just themselves doing it, right? This is themselves doing it. The whole Annie Award is just like paid by Disney and Riot Games and so on, right? To give themselves the awards. And then they have like this best sponsor, which is like the best sponsored movie they done for commercials. This feels like the most like patting myself, right? It's like, okay, we are the producers, and then we also took what we produced and put it on the thing, and then we produced that thing on that thing, right? They're like, yeah, good job, guys. But of course, Tensei, yes, they have to have waifus, man. You have to have a harem. I think you use anti-Tensei because they have sex in it. Come on, you know what for it. Like Airbnb, so on. Yeah, best commercial. Okay, so this is interesting. Best preschool, whatever. That I think is fine, of course. You could argue that it's some kids anime show, whatever, but that's fine, of course. The children so. Here though, honestly, best TV media children. Hideo Kamiya did a horrible game though. I met him in real life, Everyone hates him in real life. It's kind of fun. I can get a short about that. When I worked at one game company a few years ago, The CEO, he really hated Kojima. He really hated Kojima. He always complained so much about Kojima. He was like, he's the worst person ever. He's like, he always belittled people and so on. It was kind of hilarious how much he hated Kojima. But anyway, honestly, I say it here honestly, that Hideo Kamiya likes Arcane. I found that's like a negative for me, because Death Stranding I think is a joke. Okay, it's not a game, it's a movie, right? That is Kojima wanting to make a movie, but he's a famous game developer. He wants to make a movie, and he's like, what if I make a movie with no gameplay or something? Put it like you know. I found Kojima to me with Death Stranding with Norman Reedus, and you know I like Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead, right? That's one of the, in my opinion, worst budget games ever, right? Because it has no gameplay. I think it's incredibly boring. It's just a movie. It's just a cutscenes. Then I might say watch a movie, right? Am I the only one? Am I the only one? I mean, obviously Death Stranding was very controversial, right? Because a lot of people hated it. A lot of people felt it was terrible, and I am one of them. But you know, I work with games, right, primarily, and I am a combat designer, primarily game design, combat designer, right. So for me, it's all about the core gameplay. Right? I play Elden Ring right now, right? For me, it's all about the gameplay. Okay, it has good fights or whatever. Right? It's good, you know, mechanics. It's interesting. It's difficult. It's hard. It's challenging. Right? But what do I learn from the game? So of course, Death Stranding for me is nonsense, right? It's just like, but it has no gameplay, right? It has no gameplay. Metal Gear though is great. Of course, I got Metal Gear. Metal Gear is great, of course, but I think he lost it now, and that's why I feel like that he likes Arcane. For me, it's like, yeah, he's pretentious. I feel in the last part. But yeah, Mushoku is based on the anime is based on the light novel, yeah. But anyway, so I've seen the show because Amphibia is isekai. I've seen it, but actually, yeah, I've seen it, for example, right. My 3 people. So here I feel it's interesting because I don't know. Would you pick an anime as children's shows? There clearly are some of the animes that are for children. Some of them go forever, right? Which is probably better written and so on. But I want to point out to say that Amphibia is basically an isekai. Okay, Amphibia is an isekai. It's about a girl. I mean, it is straight up an isekai, but it is a girl. It's very, very anime. So one thing I noticed with the Disney, with the Disney stuff in the latest years is that they have gone very anime, honestly, right? So Amphibia is an isekai. It's a girl opened a chest, comes to a frog land, and the prophecy, and she's basically a shit hero. Okay, it's like shit hero for Disney. Okay, it's incredibly isekai-like. All the tropes are there, and you know, Star for Evil, that's very anime, so on. It's very Sailor Moon, so on. So honestly, I found the Disney writers, when it comes to the TV shows, are incredibly anime inspired. They're so anime inspired the latest 3 or 4 years of, maybe more, 5 years of like Disney child shows. They're incredibly anime oriented. But of course they have worse animation and so on, right? So that tells me that it's bullshit, right? Because there are much better animes you can put here. That are much better than Amphibia is trying to be, but you know, kind of half is doing it, right? But because Disney is by themselves the owner of the award system, right? They can put their own stuff here. So it is kind of weird, man. But yeah, F-Zero, more harem. Yeah, F-Zero definitely is more harem than Mushoku, because Subaru has so many more waifus. I mean, of course, they're much hotter ladies in Mushoku, but Subaru has, I mean, he's like, you know, there's the Rem, and you know, he has so many, he's like surrounded by the chicks, right? He's like surrounded that. Come on, I'm much older than you, and I still love harem, man. Harem is the best thing ever. But MT isn't a harem though, because he only has like Ares in it, and maybe Sylphie. But I mean, the whole season 1 of Mushoku, he basically only has one female character with him, right? Most of it on the same time, at best 2 of them. So it can't be a harem because Rudy is basically has like one female with him most of the storyline, and it changes to another female character. Like he doesn't really have more than one. Yeah, I agree with that. Especially, yeah, he meets like one girl, you know, for 1 year, right, and so on. But anyway, here we come to the bullshit Arcane. Yeah, here we go. Arcane, baby! It's gonna win everything, okay? So now Arcane's gonna win. And then remember again that Riot Games, the Tensei, the sponsor. You know, when I play League of Legends, man, I will have it up here, guys. So you know, right? I play League, guys, you know. I play League, you know. Like, I play League. I play League as, you know, my main character is, where is my stats or whatever, you know? Set, yeah. You know? Yes. I have a new account here, because I got banned again. That's good. But I have a new account. Obviously, I'm much better than freaking... I'm like a Grandmaster Soccer 2 player. So, I play only set on the new... I have a new account I just started, and I only play set on it. So, I got like... My last game was like 10-0. Where's my last game? It's obviously like a Smurf account. Like, look at this. Okay, so I've won defeat there, but you know, it's like I only play Set and Shaco on my new account, guys. I had like, here it is, 14-3. No, today. What's the stat? Okay, I'm blind. 10-0. This game was awesome. It's 10-0. That game was the best game. But anyway, so I play League, right? I play League, guys. You know, so I know what it's about, right? I mean, obviously I play a lot of League, so. I even played Dota 2 competitively, and yeah, I have my set account. But I want to play set, and I sit there and like smash people in them. I honestly, it's really fun playing set on Smurf because if you ever play League, you right, set is this big brawler guy, and he can like tank people. And the thing is that if set takes damage, you can use Haymaker that like basically returns damage back to them with more damage, right, for a short period of time. So set is really fun as a Smurf. So I run around, you know, top lane, and they're gonna gank me. 3 against 1. I'm like, okay, I say making them back. Right? So it's I am addicted to playing. I love playing set as my Smurf. It's really fun, seriously, because you know people who gank me and they're noobs, so they don't understand how it works, right? And I kill them all. I can kill them 3 against 1 and so on. It's hilarious. But anyways, obviously I know Arcane, I know League, right? But is it the best TV media? This is the best, okay? This is just best media general. This is just like, you know, just generalization, right? It's the best. It wouldn't even get in my top 10, okay? And again, I don't hate Arcane, right? I don't hate Arcane, but it wouldn't even get in my top 10 of the top animes or animation. I would easily have R0 ad last year again, R0 ad, which is amazing writing, right? That's much better. I have obviously Tensei, Osama ranking, Dragon Maid, I would have over Hover 2, right? There's several animes I would have over Arcane. I'm not saying that Arcane is better than many animes, right? It's better than some animes, but I was saying, is it the best of all production last year? That's crazy. Demon Slayer and so on. That's crazy, right? At least from a production standpoint, Demon Slayer is much better. Demon Slayer is way better. It's just crazy, man. But again, I agree that Rudy only has one girl. I don't feel that Tensei is a harem anime, because harem anime, first of all, because that's Spider-Man. First of all, in harem anime, I would say that you don't need to have conflict, but in a harem anime, you almost always need to have some kind of conflict, right? It needs to be a harem anime. I would say more or less you need to have a conflict between the girls, right? You need to have 2-3. Probably more female characters that are fighting about one man, or reverse harem with one girl and one guy. You need to have like some kind of relationship triangle conflict. That doesn't exist in Mushoku Tensei. There is no conflict like between Ares and like Sylphie, who's gonna smash Rudy, right? There is no like, you know. No, but I agree that awards are populous, right? That they are ad populous. But it's not. This award isn't based on popularity either. This award is based on sponsors. This award is based on money. Okay, this award is based on you know, they're sponsoring the award. They're paying for the award. They're paying for the award themselves. That's the bottom line. No, but that. I mean, I agree that Arcane is more popular, of course. But trust me, these awards are based on sponsoring. It's based on who pays for it. It's based on sponsoring. It's not based on even. It's not even based on popularity. It's based on who much wants money. Tencent, Chinese government pays for it. Okay, remember that the Chinese are paying for Arcane. It's based by Chinese people, and also for that matter, a lot of tweets and so on is based by the government. I mean, it's not a conspiracy that the Chinese government do pay for tweets and so on for this stuff. They absolutely do. It's called the propaganda, right? So absolutely do. That's an improvement. But anyway, I mean the thing. But in the end of the line, though, Arcane, the argument is that it's popular. That's an ad pop fallacy, ad popular fallacy. It means nothing, right? And for these judges, they should never care about what's popular, right? A judge should care about, what is the best, right? An ad populus fallacy is a very common fallacy, probably the most overused fallacy, right? So basically, this classic saying of 1 billion Chinese people eat rice, ergo rice is good, right, for you. That's an ad pop fallacy. You're just arguing to the masses, right? It's the most common illogical argument. So it's not an actual argument; it's an invalid argument, right? Certainly an incredible common argument. But yeah, Riot Games are paying for it. And again, I said here, I emphasize that Riot Games is 100% owned by Tencent, okay? There's not a video about me. I have stocks in Tencent, okay? So, I have money in Tencent myself, okay? So this is not even me hate Tencent. I'm saying that Tencent owns 100% of Riot Games. So Riot Games is in a fact not a company per se with a lot of freedom, right? Because they're owned by Tencent 100%. And Tencent is owned to a large extent by the government, okay? So them sponsoring the awards, and they have infinite tax money, right? It's the whole thing is just kind of weird. Right? Come on, let's be honest. The whole thing is just like putting money and shit in there. But that being said, though, I honestly found people having a weak argument why Arcane should win this thing. Because people are always like, Arcane's amazing. I'm like, what's amazing about it? Okay? Is the story amazing? It really isn't. The storyline is not amazing, okay? Again, it doesn't have a terrible storyline, but compared to the Tensei, Osama ranking, okay? Osama ranking storyline is amazing, okay? Osama ranking is so well written with the nuanced character and so on. It's the opposite of Arcane when it comes to characterization and character development and so on. Like the scene with Domas and Bodhi, and he's crying and Domas has a hand up and so on. Or when healing his body when he's sleeping and so on. Come on. That's some really good shit. Like Arcane can't even compare to Osama ranking and his writing. And even better this year, Osama ranking is even better. Season 2. It's even better. Part 2 is even better. But Castlevania is even worse. Castlevania is crap in my opinion. But when I read the comment, honestly, not to be that guy, but when I read the comments defending Arcane, I'm just like, can you say, have you seen Osama ranking? Can you put on a scene in Arcane that is better than the scene when Domas does what he does? I'm gonna spoil it here. When Domas, the Domas scene in Osama ranking in episode 4. Can you say one scene in Arcane that has more emotional depth than that scene, or even more so in when healing says Lady Anne, but of course it did air the first week. It aired like episode 13 though. Can you find like a better scene than the healing Apple's crying scene that aired in episode I think 13, right? Of Osama ranking. Honestly, when I hear people say defend Arcane, they never seen the animes. Come on, that's usually what it's about, right? They never seen the animes. They never seen the scene, right, with healing. No one has seen God of healing. I probably have it on my computer. Give me a second. I have all my healing, baby. Where's the Steven healing? If she's healing, but where's the Steven she pulls him? Oh, here, this scene. Here we go. Yeah, like can you find me a scene in Arcane that has more emotion than this scene? Which is crazy talk. It doesn't exist, man. It doesn't exist. There is not a single scene in Arcane that's better than this scene. The emotion I get from Arcane is not even remotely close to like healing. Use the healing scenes. I don't even need the other scenes. I don't even need the Doma scene and so on, or the Despa scene in the Kreis about Ocken and so on. I don't even need those scenes, man. I don't even need that shit, man. Like this scene here, or this scene here, even better. Come on, there's nothing like this in Arcane. It's even remotely close to the emotion that Awesome Ranking has. And usually, in my opinion, my experience, right? People that defend Arcane, again, I'm not saying Arcane is bad. I'm just saying that Arcane is not as good in those things, right? And usually, in my experience, right, people defending Arcane haven't seen the animes, right? They haven't seen those animes. They haven't seen the Elma, Cry, Toro, and so on. Yeah. They haven't seen the scene, right? Come on, it's that's usually how it is. But anyway, so Arcane wins like the best media generally, and so I like Bob's Burger, okay, but again, this kind of shows you that this is crap, right? Because like I like Bob's Burger, but Bob's Burger even nominated? Come on, like Bob's Burger is like a a basic show, okay. Bob's Burger. If you haven't seen it right, it's like a Family Guy, Simpson. It's about Bob, voiced by what's his name again? Oh god, Rob. Oh, he's also Archer Oh, I can't remember his name now. No, Benjamin. Hayes Benjamin. What's his name is? H.A. Benjamin. Oh, whatever, yeah. Great voice actor, honestly, I feel. All gonna be one of the best voices ever, and so on. So I like Boss Burger, but it's not, I think it's just embarrassing having something like Boss Burger. It's like, it's a one episode comedy show, okay? They do some jokes, They do some jokes. I've seen the episode. It's a good episode, but it's not like remotely close to animes, right? So why is it even in the list? You know what I mean? And if you go about one episode, Nagatoro there is way funnier. I'm not laughing even remotely close to both of them in Nagatoro, right? The Star Wars show, I haven't seen Tuca and Bertie, but I've seen all the stuff, yeah. But obviously Arcane isn't the best general media. It's just crazy, and even having Boss Burger here is embarrassing. But remember that Disney owns that too, so they also owns Fox. Anyway, best student film. Okay, here I have no one. I guess this is this is film done by animation done by people in college, right? So yeah, animation done by people in college. Obviously, not something yeah. They obviously used touching each other, certainly. Anyway, I've used this, student. So here again, best word effects. You're kidding me, man. Have you seen this anime? So Arcane wins again, right? Arcane is also the best. So FX, right? It's like the VFX, right? Have you seen Demon Slayer? Okay, can we all agree that Demon Slayer has the best effects? We can argue if Demon Slayer, we can argue if Demon Slayer is well written or whatever. I like Demon Slayer, right? People are, it's just overrated or whatever. I don't think Demon Slayer is the best anime ever. But when it comes to the VFX, the actual FX, right, the graphics of it, like Demon Slayer is insane, especially of course in the next season, this fight with Usui. This is insane how good this fight is. Nothing in Arcane, especially not when it comes to the effects, right, the sparkles, the fire and so on, right, is remotely close to Demon Slayer. That's bullshit. That's just bullshit. That's just bullshit, man. That's just crazy talk. That's just crazy talk, man. This is just crazy. No, but come on. I can even prove to you all it's wrong, right? Because objectively speaking, the budgeting for that thing. That being said, I could see the argument that it's better effects generally speaking, but not true. And there's also a specific episode. That makes it even worse that they are giving Arcane for this episode, right? Because then it's even easier for Demon Slayer to win because they say this episode. And then of course Mushoku Tensei, and also of course the water fight in Dragon's Maid with Elma and Toru. When Toru and they're like, I wanna be your friend and so on. Yeah, I love you. That fight is also much better animated than any. I have it so on computer. The Toru fight. I think I have some image from it. When it aired, summer last year. Elma, Toru. Just the opening alone for that anime is better. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's opening alone. This fight here is much better animated than anything in Arcane. Much better. Yeah, where she's like, I love you, Toru, and so on. Yeah, that's the one. That's the best fight in Dragon's Maid. Incredibly well animated with the water fight and so on. Elma fights the water fights up and so on. So yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Of course, Castlevania, Netflix sponsoring too, right? I mean, we have to make arguments. What I feel you're doing wrong here, trying to defend Arcane, is that you're arguing from mostly falses, right? And I'm a very logical person. I'm an engineer, right, basically. For the basics, I mean. What you have to do to defend Arcane, to really defend it, is you can't do this defense of this famous person liked it, or it sold a lot of copies, because Arcane is based on one of the biggest video games ever, League of Legends, right? So it's a very popular show. Even if let's put it, if Arcane was half as good, you would still have the strongest hardcore League fans saying the exact same thing, right? They would write the exact same tweet anyway, because they're so into to League of Legends, right? It doesn't actually matter how good Arcane is. It has such a backing, right, of its massive fan base of League. Again, I'm not saying Arcane is bad. I'm just saying that those people are always going to defend it no matter what, right? So you can't argue from the whole popularity or watch hours or whatever, right? Because again, it's an incredibly big video game, right? So with a lot of money behind it, you can't argue from like popularity. That's not an argument for an actual logical argument. Just calling to the authority or calling to popularity. Because saying that Kojima likes it, that's an authority policy. You're saying that someone is famous with money likes it, right? That's like me saying that Trump likes it, that's why it's bad or good or whatever, it doesn't matter. Or Biden likes it, it doesn't matter. Right? It's an actual argument why something is wrong or right. Anyway, Castlevania I find honestly overrated. Season 1 and 2 is good, and then it's just like I don't care about the whole. I think I care. I even like Curse of Darkness. Okay, I like Hector as a character, but Jesus Christ, does this show go downhill after season 2? Right? It's good first season, and then it's like Dracula's out, and just no, okay. But come on, like this is just so ridiculous. But this is why, this is so ridiculous. This is like it wasn't even in nominations. So even if you say that Arcane is the best masterpiece ever, right? Even if you say that Arcane is the best masterpiece ever, like they're not even nominating, Demon Slayer, right? Like even if this category effects, right? This is the graphical effect apartment, right? They're not even like Demon Slayer, Kaisen, like Boogie Woogie and so on. They're not even nominating them, right? It's so embarrassing. It's just like only Disney and Netflix shows, because Netflix owns the the FX company. It's just so embarrassing. It's just so embarrassing. We know that they are so obsessed with everything in Japan is evil. You know what I mean? It's almost kind of racist, honestly. Yeah, like nothing from the East can be even, because come on, at least nominate them. It's just so ridiculous. DreamWorks is also owned by sponsor, and now we have best effects that in a movie. I guess Demon Slayer should really win this thing. Mugen Train, I guess, would count for this thing, right? Arguably Mugen Train would be counted as a feature instead of a show, I guess. I guess so, right? But actually, let me tell you one thing. Ghibli movies used to win it, So Ghibli movies actually used to win this shit, right, back in the days, and also Oscars, right? But you know why? Is it a reason why Ghibli movies can win, actually? Even though they're animes, and they're evil because animes? Again, this is the reason why. So, the Ghibli movies, who released them in America? Disney did. Okay? So, the Ghibli movies actually has won a few of these prizes, and also Oscars, right? But that's because Disney is the company behind the sponsoring and distribution. So Disney is like, well, you're gonna include the Ghibli movies, right? So that's the reason why the Ghibli movies wins, right? Because Disney's behind them as a production company. Yeah. So that's the reason why Ghibli movies has won Best Features earlier. It's kind of like that, right? But that's good, yeah. Anyway, Sony is also a producer, of course. But actually, it's kind of funny. Sony's a producer. Sony also produced Demon Slayer. You could argue that they would maybe get in Demon Slayer here. But yeah, best effects, of course, is Demon Slayer. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's go on. So now we have, best character animation. It's obviously not again Arcane in every goddamn category. Arcane is gonna win. It's so ridiculous. It really reminds me of when they tried to make like Megalobox be in every category or something. Yeah, or what was that? Crunchyroll maybe 18, and like Hero Academia won like 7 categories. There was one Jujutsu Kaisen has won what 8 or 9 times, right? Something. And also, My Academia won like at least 10 or something prizes in 1 or 2 years, something like that. Kind of reminds me of that. They're like in every category. But anyway, best animation, again, right? Best character animation is maybe Dragon's Maid, maybe it's Kaisen, right? Maybe Mushoku Tensei has some good fights too, right? Orsted, you had Ares fight scene. There's some really good animation there. I could even go so far as say Detective is already dead. Remember that fight scene? Have you seen that anime? When they fight in the airplane? When she's at the shotgun thing in the airplane? That shit was crazy. When she's like flipping around and so on. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful when it did stuff. But I don't know. Like, it's just, of course, Arcane wins this thing too. Really shouldn't win that. And again, not even no anime is even allowed, right? And Disney wins the best character movie. Of course, you won Disney. Okay, so now we have a live action. This I feel is kind of weird. So why is this a part of this thing though? This actually I feel is a very this is called live action. Why is this part of the categories? Okay, honestly. So this is like a really weird category because every other category is, you know, animation, right? Anime and so on, right? And suddenly we have best character animation live action. What does this mean? It's obviously, you know, another Disney project, Marvel movies, so it's all Disney again, right? Disney is the... It's fun that the first nomination is also Disney. It's like Disney, right? Marvel's owned by Disney, and Flora also Disney, so it's basically Disney. They're paying for themselves. And again, if you take this award seriously, you're crazy, right? If you take the Annie award seriously, you're crazy, because it's just paid by the same company, right? It's just like... But even with the higher budget, Arcane has terrible writing. That's the worst, I suppose. It's not the worst. I mean, I'm also being a little jokingly, but come on. No matter how much you pay, right? Unfortunately, the writing of Step also the writing is much better, right? But just kind of how it is, right? You can't pay for good writing, I guess. But anyway, this is like, I don't know. I guess they have effects in the live action stuff, right? I mean, they're fighting. It's a Marvel movie. They have some effects, so. I mean, obviously, Suicide Squad is a much better movie with James Gunn. It's a much better movie, right? So that should probably win. I don't know. It's just like The Last Man wasn't even that good. I love The Last Man. I read the comics, right? I love the comics from Brian Vaughan, whatever his name is. I love the comics. They're amazing. The TV show is utter crap. Very disappointing. The Last Man is a very good... The issue, I think, and I said in another video earlier last year, but the issue with The Last Man is that when he wrote The Last Man, like 10 years ago, I think he wrote it like maybe 10, 11 or something. It took him probably 4 or 5 years to write it. But anyway, The Last Man is about that every man dies, right? Except Yorick, the main character, his monkey. And he's trying to find his girlfriend or whatever and so on, and survive this world with only females, right? Because they're trying to get his seed and so on, right? He's the only man alive. So when they wrote this thing, it was like, you know, it was really well done, right? Really good storyline. But I think the issue here with The Last Man, I think it's a straight up issue, is, you know, woke SUV stuff, right? It's straight up, honestly. Because the issue is that this comic was very good. It was written in like the late... I think something like 2007 or 8 to maybe, you know, 10, 11 or something like that, and around those years. And then it wasn't as, you know, woke or whatever, PC, right, the culture or whatever. Right? And then they made this TV show then, or the live action of it, right, 10 plus years later. And now it's much more PC or whatever you call it, right? And suddenly they have to be like, well, we have to have a transgender character here. We have to have this thing and so on, right? And it became so shoehorned. And instead of being this like survival thriller of, I'm the only man alive, there's no zombies, but everyone wants to get my pee-pee, because that's the only pee-pee alive and so on, right? Instead of having a drama, it's just like, oh, we have to talk about this progressive thing that all the men are dead, that's pretty good and so on, right? So the whole storyline was ruined, right? And all this, we had to put in this progressive message, right? Because The Last Man is kind of terrible when it comes to, you know, how to speak. The Last Man gives you a very like negative view, right, of what would happen if only female were alive and all men died. It would be pretty terrible. That's kind of the Last Man as a message to some extent. But the new TV show is like, no, you know, it's perfect, right? They have to make it happen, right? So it's a very weird show. But anyway, crap show, terrible show. So now it's video games. So whatever. It Takes Two. You know, I know him, you know, to some extent. Fares. Just Fares, yeah, they're very famous in Sweden. Hazel Studios, very famous because he's the. I said it in the video game stream, talking about the video games award, but I say it here again, so I would never get hired here. No, I'm just kidding. The thing is that the Fares, he's notoriously hated in Sweden. It's kind of funny, okay? So I know a lot of people who work with him. And I personally I only met him like very briefly once on a party, so I don't really know him. But my coworkers that used to work with him always complained about him. They were always like, oh, he's this thing and a sexist and he touches the girls on the ass. And it was always that crap. I don't know if it's true, but I just remember the rumors about him were incredibly much, okay? He had so many bad rumors about him. And then when he got drunk on one of those, he got like really drunk on one of the awards, right? He was like 3 years ago. He got like super hammered and so on. That was very, very famous, because I know people. I know like the lead designer. It was so much talk in the industry in my circle of of Hazeland Studios. But anyway, best, I don't know, Ratchet & Clank. I don't really care. Some Japanese game could have won. Where's my JRPG, baby? Where's my FF7 remake 2 years before? But honestly, jokes aside, I don't remember which one in 19, 20 and so on. But I would honestly say that FF7 remake probably should have won. It probably didn't, because it's Japanese. And everything in Japan is evil. That's why I learned from these companies. But I don't know. Best character animation last year. What game would I personally say is the best animation? I mean, honestly, Ratchet & Clank isn't that bad. I mean, it's like, what game that had the best? Resident Evil had a pretty good animation, some of the scenes. I don't know. Who cares? We hear the one about anime, but I don't know. I think it's kind of funny that, there's only American companies in the list. But, anyway, so here, okay, come on, this is why I hate this. This is why, this reminds me so much how I started hating, basically you hate one Drake Priority, because in every category. But would you really say that Ark has the best character design? It doesn't have very good character design. The main character is just like, I'm a boxer lady with boxers, It's just like, I think the V is probably one of the worst characters also in League of Legends. And I said by saying that, I mean from a visual standpoint, right? Again, I like League, but have you seen Set, man? Have you seen Set? Have you seen this guy? That's a good character. I only play Set, so I don't even have a third character in this account. But that's a good character! He's like a boxer guy, and he keeps being like, my mommy was, he keeps doing like mommy lines. He's like, my people say, like, be like water, I'm like a tsunami, and so on. Come on, like that's a good character. No, but there are some really interesting design characters in League of Legends, certainly. But I genuinely think that Arcane has taken some of the most boring characters from League of Legends and put them in the show. Because the reason why, of course, is that Arcane is limiting itself, and I think heavily so, by having these, how I say it, the human cats, right? V, Caitlyn, so on, these, sexy female cats, right? They haven't put it like Urgot. That's not how many 6 legs, right? It's so much harder to animate. Oh my god. They don't have, Urgot or like a Nu or something on the fur. They clearly have Kak6 and so on, yeah. So all these monster cats, right, are completely, omitted, right, from Arcane, of course. So they've taken the most basic, mostly human cats, right, without the character that has like weird features, right? Like the mask or Shaq or something like that. They're taking the characters that are mostly, human again, right? Most normal humans, with maybe some cyborg hand, right? So I think this is probably the worst category that Arcane shouldn't win in, because I really don't think it has very good character design. It has the arguably again, the lamest collection of League characters. Instead of having all this, badass, crazy monsters from League, right? Again, like Urgot, right, or something, or I don't know, Shogat or something. It's like a big monster running around with the hat. I want to say Shogat with the gentleman Shogat running around with the top hat, so on. Annie, reverse beer Annie, something like that. And having all of these badass Shivana, sexy dragon wife, whatever. Instead of having all these crazy characters in the League, they have the most basic one. They have the main character that's a woman with 2 fists. And then she evolves to a more muscular woman with 2 fists. Like, that's basically the character side of Arcane, right? And then she has her sexy, Caitlyn, and they kind of have some kind of lesbian storyline or whatever, right? So I guess they also evolve a little bit in friendships / romance, whatever, right? And Ying's, I guess, goes crazy. I guess Ying has the best design in this show. But generally speaking, I really dislike, it's just lazy. I mean, think about it. Singed, he's in Arcane, right? But that's like pre-Singed, before he goes to cooler. It has it's boring, okay? It's boring. The character design is terrible in Arcane, I would say. It's the most boring League characters, because, again, they don't want to have to animate, Urgot's freaking spider legs, okay? I understand why, of course. Or Elise and turn into a spider. I mean, obviously, it's much more work for them to take the monster characters, right? But it also means they resulted in taking the most plain characters, or Heimding, I guess, the furball. But mostly they're taking the most lamest, most plain characters. And how can you claim that Arcane see it as the best character design? Because this is not even about quality, right? Like the sense of quality as in animation or voice acting. It's just how the character look, right? You know, how the character actually look from like a visual standpoint. There's so many animes with way more interesting visual-looking characters than Arcane has, right? Arguably, you could argue that character design is also the backstory and the lore and so on of the character. And yet again, of course, something like One Piece or whatever, much better backstory. Yamato, of course, last year. So it's just like, this is part of one of massive bullshit things, right? I don't know. Ilulu, massive op-ice. Flamesack Ilulu, you know? Flamesack Ilulu. Flamesack Ilulu, right? That's, of course, you know, the biggest thing, right? But I don't make opinions, man. I make objective facts here. This is not an opinion. This is an issue you have in your comments here. You're trying to find Arcane here. Is that I'm not saying opinions. I'm saying facts. And you can say that I'm wrong or right or whatever on the sphere of it. But it's a literal fact that the reason that they have the more boring character in Arcane is because the budget's right. You say that Arcane's have a budget, but it's much more costly to design and graphically put in like a spider character. So, but I was in a video game a few years ago, and I wanted to have these swings, okay? I wanted to have a goddamn swings. And the artist refused to make it. They're like, oh, swings, you have to give it wings, it has 4 legs. It's so complicated. I was like, oh, you give me a goddamn swings. And they were like, oh, it's too much work. So I was like, okay, fine. So the idea was that swing has a time powers, right? So okay, fine. It's like a demon with a blindfold. We call it seer instead, and they can see in the future. Okay, let's make that one. So the reason why Arcane, and this is an objective fact, right? The reason why Arcane has the most boring characters, again, from a visual standpoint, the less, extravagant characters, right? And this is objective true, right? They have so many human characters in Arcane, again, because of the budget, right? Because of the time frame. If they have infinite money, they will certainly have much more crazy-looking characters, right? In League of Legends, certainly would have in Arcane. And also, for that matter, Arcane as a show would generally have more champions, right? If they had infinite time and money, of course it would. Some of the characters are clearly replaced for kind of playing another character, but the game character looks more crazy or whatever, so you kind of replace that with a more lame character. But anyway, so that's the issue though. Trying to defend Arcane with you're mixing like opinions and facts, and you can have an objective fact and then have a subjective reasoning how important it is, right? And it is very true that Arcane again then took their more lame characters, right, from the video game. But anyway, of course, Batman really doesn't have. Batman is kind of weird. I mean, sure, Batman has good character design, but it's not like long-going, Batman TV shows. Kind of weird. Yuki 7. What's that? I kind of recognize it, but what's that? Yuki 7. I didn't see before. Yuki means snow, of course, but yeah. Yuki, also courage. Anyway, best character design. Oh, movie. Also probably some anime. Come on, where's my, Demon Slayer, whatever. Oh, who cares? But yeah, of course they're not. Yeah, Mission. Yeah. Best direction. Here again, obviously Arcane wins. It wins everything, but that's why it's so silly, right? Again, I don't hate Arcane, but it certainly doesn't have the best direction as well, right? Best direction is something that is really important for a good show, right? And I think that, again, my biggest complaint about Arcane is the slow pacing, right? That is pretty slow paced. You can skip over half an episode, nothing happens in like 3 or 4 episodes. So I would say that honestly, Arcane has pretty bad direction. And especially with the whole how predictable it is and cliche and so on. It's very lackluster on the prediction. And then also has something like Amphibia in direction, which is embarrassing. If it's Amphibia, it's like a really bad isekai, okay? It's trying to be F-Zero, but it's crap, you know what I mean? It's like F-Zero on... it's dumpster fire F-Zero as Amphibia, okay? It's Disney trying to write an isekai character. It literally is an isekai. Again, I mentioned earlier, she gets teleported in, It's all that, you know, fish out of water and this thing and frog. And the storyline is very, very isekai. She's the hero, prophecy, blah, 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 so on. It is straight up, it's an isekai done by Disney. But it's, of course, way, way weaker than whatever, Mushoku Tensei, right? And Zero, so and last year of isekais. So, no, it's like, Amphibia is a bad isekai, okay? I don't even think it's a good anime or a good show. It's much, Star, at least Star and the Force of Evil are good at this. Yeah, Star is a really good Disney show. Even better, Wonder of Yonder, also a good show. Amphibia is pretty bad, I think. But, you know, Disney owns the anime, so, you know. This again, you know, you're like, what is this joke, you know? Like, what is this joke? There's so many better shows in anime. Okay, best direction movie, that was the Mitchell and okay, best music, Vivi maybe? No, Zombieland Sega! Oh, Zombieland Sega, yeah, of course. You know, Zombieland Sega is, of course, the best music. Freaking Saki and so on, come on. Yeah, Zombieland Sega, or Vivi, clearly. But, they have like Sing 2, whatever, I guess. My End 3, come on, this is bullshit. This is so bullshit. Like, have you seen the anime about music? Zombieland Sega, easily. Best music, for movies instead. Oh yeah, but this is, I feel, was a bad movie. It's not, am I the only one? I don't think more people like Encanto. What did Encanto get for like a rating? I think it was a pretty bad movie. Am I the only one? What did it get? Like critics score. What did Encanto get? I think it was a bad movie. Where's the like Metacritic score? Let's go down here and see in Wikipedia. It's something like you can find the meta score, right? Here it is, 89. Come on, I want to get to that one. This one. 75, see? I don't think it was a very good movie. Am I the only one? I don't think Encanto was a very good movie. I didn't think the song was very good either. I think it was a very weak Disney movie. I'm gonna say it. I did not like the movie. My sister didn't like it either. I hate it, yeah. My sister didn't like it either. I think it was one of the weakest Disney movies I've seen in a while. Certainly it's no Frozen or whatever. I'm just being, you know, and you know, Frozen is awesome Disney movie music. No, but seriously, I think Encanto was a pretty bad movie. I remember my sister told my sister about it, my little sister. She was like, "Oh, it's terrible." She was like, "Oh my god, the storyline is boring. The main characters is likable." And I felt the same thing too. And she's kind of like, you know, a Disney fan. She's like, my sister is like, you know, oh, everything, you know, Frozen, and oh, she's amazing and that stuff, right? You know, she's very biased, right? She's very Disney defender, so to speak. But she was like, oh, Encanto, that was the worst I've seen in 10 years. Yeah, I think that was a terrible movie, in my opinion. And I don't think it definitely wasn't the best music either. But whatever. Well, yeah, have you heard Arcane? I thought it won like every game category ever. It's good that Test is paying for this thing, huh? Money, baby, maybe. Again, I have stocks tested, but oh my god. I have way too much stock in Alibaba and Tencent. It's not very good for my money. Not very good for my money, baby. But anyway, yeah, Arcane. Definitely not the best production. I don't know. Maybe it arguably has good production values, but and now it's a movie. Oh yeah, so Mitchell and Arcane is everything. Yeah, whatever. This is so ridiculous. Oh, also best storyboard. But this is what I mean, you know. This actually feels very... It truly feels a lot like the Crunchyroll I watch every year too, right? Where they have one anime or one show, right, they really like. Whatever reason, like, oh, it has a lesbian main character, awesome, right? Or whatever. And they just take it for everything. They're like, okay, so... Arcane, best direction, Arcane, best action scene, Arcane, you know, best music, Imagine Dragons, Arcane, right? And they just like throw it in there. You just throw it in everything. The sun is going down, it's dark here. But yeah, you just throw it in everything, right? And it's kind of like, it's really that good, though. It's really that good. It's it gets kind of ridiculous. But this is the pattern that, I mean, I haven't looked at the list further down here, right? But it's also kind of boring because you know that I can go to the next category and basically Arcane's gonna win again, right? And actually, here's Invincible. Invincible is a much better show than Arcane. You're crazy if you think that Arcane is better than Invincible. Invincible is a great show, but it's almost too brutal and bloody, right? And also done by Amazon, so they don't want to have that, you know, in categories. Yeah, that's like one of those like this is like a, you know, they put it in one category, right? You can't have it everywhere. It's like you know, a competitor, right? You can't have it everywhere. But seriously, Invincible is really good. It's really good. Walking Dead and so on, and of course Encanto wins. But I don't know. No, it's not a good movie. People didn't even like it. Come on, we have it here. People didn't even like it. Yeah, 75. People didn't even like it. The people didn't. No, I was like, this is. The money. I can't take that. Well, I hate this award system always. No, but this is so ridiculous. Come on, this is so ridiculous. This is a joke, okay? I mean, honestly, I'm not surprised, but it's exactly what I said a minute ago. I'm like, I don't even have to look at the list more because I know that Arcane is gonna win everything that is listed, right? Like, oh, he also has the best voice actor, you know, and that's bullshit. Have you seen freaking Kenjiro Suda doing stuff? Like, Kenjiro Suda is always the best voice actor. Everyone knows that. Orsted, yeah. Everyone knows that Suda is always the best voice actor every year. His Ogata is a masterpiece. No, but seriously, I think that Suda usually should win every year. But, yeah. Nobuketa, Suda, right? No, Kana also good too, right? Hushan usually is good too. Kugumi only plays one character, she can never win anymore. No, but it's a perfect example of what you said, right? You're like, oh yeah, Arcane wins the best direction, best comedy. Oh, why not also give it best voice acting? And I feel there is a million times better voice actors. I feel like every voice actor in Osama ranking is better. But generally speaking, though, you know that the whole Seiyu thing in Japan is so much more serious too, right, than in the West. Right? They take voice acting so much more seriously in the West than they do in the rest of the world, right? Outside Japan, basically. And one thing that's really good actors are, of course, all the girls from Zombieland Sega. They also sings the songs, and they also go, the voice actors from Zombieland Sega also go and do, live action performances as the characters. It's so awesome, yeah. They also are a real band, they go out and sing and so on, right? That's a good voice actor, okay? But seriously, is Jinx also very good? I don't think she is that. I don't think she's a very good voice actor. I don't think she's a bad. It's like, and this is why I hate this stuff also, because I don't hate Arcane, but this makes me hate Arcane. Maybe I'm just a cynical bastard. See the sun's going down. Put on the lamp here. Can't reach the lamp. Get my lamp up, baby. Sorry, the sun is going. Oh, what happened? Oh shit. I have destroyed my lamp. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, I must have. Anyway, sorry. Thumb it down. Slide up. I've heard it every year, right? With this award system. Maybe I'm just a cynical old bastard, but for me, this makes me dislike the shows more, right? Because I have to say that, I mean, it's not terrible voice acting, but this is the best voice acting. It just makes me, be cynical about it, right? I mean, it's like, but this can't be right. It can't win everything. It doesn't have the best direction and best animation and best effect and the best actors. No, it's just bullshit. It's not the best in everything. That's just crazy talk, right? And for me, at least, as a cynical, yeah, it's all Chinese money, 100%. But like for me, right, as a cynical person, I suppose, it also makes me question everything. Am I the only one? When I see that Arcane wins like 20 categories, right, or whatever you can, but if it wins, all the categories, even voice acting, at least in my brain, I'm just like, okay, this is clearly Shield, right? That they win voice acting, but they shouldn't win at all. And then I'm questioning the other things too, right? Then I'm questioning, wait, it should not win in category X. Should it win in category Y? You know what I mean? Like, for me, I'm questioning it more and more, right? Because I'm just like, that's just who I am. And the exact same thing with Crunchyroll, right? The Crunchyroll is like, Wonder Egg Purity, every category. I'm immediately like, no, this is wrong, okay? It's not that good Wonder Egg Purity. Or, like Reddit anime I watch, they have Sonny Boy in every category. I'm like, Sonny Boy is not that good, guys, come on, you know what I mean? I'm just getting like the cynical view of like, but if you put it in every category, it's just something wrong with you. Like, it's not the best comedy. It's not even a comedy. That kind of feel to it, right? But yeah, Mushoku Tensei won like everything. It also won, the popular vote, right? Reddit and so on. I did. If you've seen it, links below in the system. I did a democracy win, right? Like Reddit and so on, right? People voted. Mushoku Tensei won most of the people's vote, right? When there was no judges, it almost voted everything. And in most countries, and Bilibili, this is Chinese platform. Bilibili is, like Chinese. Hope you guys see me now. It never happened before. Sorry about that. I was hoping it worked now. Oh, shit. Yeah, stuff is happening. I guess I put this in a long time. Stuff is happening. Oh yeah, it's some weird fluxing over here. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So, sorry about that. Getting pretty close to finishing this thing anyway. But yeah, my PC is broke completely. Honestly, kind of scary because you know how it is. Like I'm an old man, right? So I grew up with the blue screen, right? This wasn't blue screen, but it felt blue screeny because it just froze, right? It just froze. Like everything just froze. It wasn't just a stream. And then I pressed the power button. I went and pressed the power button, right? And it didn't even react to it. So even though I pressed down the power button and hold down and tried, it didn't restart the computer. I had to go and, you know, pull out the cable, right? Or turn off the power socket. And turn off the power socket. So anyway, here we are. Sorry about that. But honestly, I thought the PC almost broke first. I was like, shit. But that being said, you know, I have worked a lot with PC stuff and so on. Build more PC. So if it breaks, you can open it up. And I had a PC like 10 years ago in the same similar free screen thing. What I did was I just replaced the ROM, right? I opened it and replaced the card and so on. The fried, right? So I know how to fix it usually. But anyway, we were at, of course, sorry about that. We were at voice acting. And yeah, I mean, best voice acting? Come on, who are you kidding, right? It's not the best voice acting. It's not the best voice acting. Let's see that thing there. Press it thing there. Orange shit thing there. Can probably make it better. I see the thing now when it irritates me. Let me fix that. Can I see this thing going in here? Yeah, I see this streaming kind of weird now. Always happens when it crashes, right? Let me just give me a second. Fix that shit. Something like that. Put it down. Oh, you want me to pull down? Okay. There we go. That's better. So yeah, best voice acting. Of course, not the best voice acting ever. I'm not saying it again. I don't know exactly when it broke now, but I used to point out, right? I'm not saying that. Oh, sorry, Arcane was the best. The one, sorry. I'm not saying that Arcane has terrible voice acting. I'm not saying that it clearly doesn't have the best voice acting, right? Let's be honest here. It doesn't have the best voice acting. It's just kind of silly. And just to emphasize what I said, right? It's just very predictable. You know that Arcane wins everything, so you're like, oh yeah, just give it this thing, right? So in this thing here, the anime awards, they usually have, you know, different genres, you know, comedy, action, and so on, right? And that's kind of how it feels like. If this anime awards had, you know, comedy, drama, and so on, they would have, like, you know, Arcane winning everything too, right? They would have Arcane's both the best funniest stuff, best drama, best emotional anime, it's everything, you know. That's kind of how they act, right? Anyway, best movie, what is it? What's the thing? Really don't care about that. Anyway, best writing, Arcane. Oh yeah, baby. Best writing, also Arcane. Like, you know what I mean? It's just that's the issue, right? Where you have stuff like healing, you have goddamn best mom healing, and you put Arcane here. You're utterly crazy. Okay, this is best writing. As Zero also, of course, aired last year. Mushoku Tensei is on it. That's why it's so silly. Because at least I think that even the hardcore Arcane fans, maybe not the true hardcore fans, but I think the people that like Arcane generally, even they are gonna agree that the writing is one of the weaker parts of Arcane. You can say that, oh, it has so good animation or whatever, blah blah blah. But the writing, really, the most like basic, oh no, I hate my sister, she never listens to me. I mean, in Arcane, most of the issues can be resolved in like 5 minutes if we and Jinx just talk to turn right for like 5 minutes. Yeah, if they acted like grown-ups. If we could just, like, you know, calm down for like more than 10 seconds in the episodes and just talk to Jinx, they could probably resolve almost every issue immediately, right? So Arcane's writing is just, honestly, I feel the weakest part. The pacing is slow, and most of the characters are so inorganic and so forced, right, to get into a conflict. Then of course immediately Jinx is gonna go crazy and so on. It's very predictable. No, but seriously, this is one of my definitely issues I have with Arcane, is that the storyline is pretty bad. It's predictable. The characters act, you know, they don't act like real people, right? They act like characters in a, you know, cliche show where stuff happens because they have to happen, right? They don't happen because they feel organic. They happen because the character has to do this thing. They can't just communicate. They get to talk. And then they do this weird thing too, because I mean, then we get the V and Caitlyn love story, you know? V and Caitlyn are gonna, turn into some kind of lesbians or whatever, right? And of course, there's a lot of hentai on V and Caitlyn doing it. Of course, it is. That's the reason why they made, them the main character in Arcane, because everyone knows that V and Caitlyn do a lot of fun stuff and foot stuff and so on, right? My favorite, of course, is the fishnet one where Jinx, Caitlyn, and of course V have fun together. But anyway, but it's one weird thing, honestly, I found when I watched Arcane. And that was that V and Caitlyn, right? They had this fight and I can't trust you, whatever, right? In one episode, and then it goes to the next episode, and suddenly they're basically lovers. It's just a weird thing. So the writing is not that good. Come on, the writing is not that good because they do this thing with the time skip between the episodes, and it really jumps from them being like, "Can I trust you, chick? Oh, you shut up, bitch!" They gotta have the thing, and next episode. She's like, "Oh, this is my best friend for life. We're basically in love now." Yeah, like the next episode, they're like, "Oh yeah, we basically sleep together every night, and she's my pillow." It's like it just goes into this like immediate, like off screen. They are now lovers or something. They have 3 kids together, right? It's like 1 month later, now they're best love friends forever, BFFs forever, Euro time. It's just like this really weird, funky. Writing, which I felt was kind of, okay, I guess it happened there. What more would I critique the writing for, if I have to? Heimdinger is definitely correct. I was being like, Hextech is gonna destroy the world. Heimdinger, I think it was honestly terrible written. So Heimdinger complains all the time about, no, the Hextech gate is gonna be like a nuke, magic is evil, Heimdinger complains all the time to Jace, right, about this thing. But he never does anything. Heimdinger is a terrible written character. He just complains about some shit all the time, and he never acts on it, and he's like super old and super powerful, and he's like, it takes him like 7-8 episodes to do anything really. He's just against everything, and nothing ever happens. It's terrible, and Victor is like, "Oh no, I'm dying," and Jace can never see it. His best friend is Victor, but he can't see that he's dying next to him, like every episode and so on. Come on, the writing is so cliche. It's so, like, every character just does what they have to do for the storyline. So for example, again, Victor is dying, right? He's like, "Oh, I'm dying, cough, cough, cough," right? And Jace is like, okay, right? Jace ignores that for 8-9 episodes, just completely. And then suddenly he's like, "Oh no, my best friend, brother Victor, I love you," right? And he's, "I have to save you," or something, right? But the issue that is that, like a normal person, right? If you're a normal human being living with your best friend or whatever, your colleague, you would have noticed that he's dying, right? Even if you're sleeping with this hot chick, president Kun, right? Yeah. Even if you sleep with her, you will still realize that your best friend is dying, right? Next door, right? You will realize that. But Jace just doesn't, right? He's completely blind. He's like tunnel vision like this, right? Tunnel vision like that. And that is why the writing, I think, is the biggest issue, right? Because the pacing is so slow as well, right? Because, yeah, the writing is like, the character has to ignore everything that happens to his best friend until he has to not ignore it anymore, right? So it's incredibly unorganic, because he's going to ignore everything with Victor until it has to be so late that now he has to do this thing, right? And now this happens, right? And now I have to go into the whole saving him and so on. So he ignores it up to that point. That's incredibly unorganic. And that's, I feel, is the Arcane issue all the time, because every character, V is the same thing. V is like this, right? Jinx, has issues with V, and he's like that. And if she just talked to her sister, right, for like a second, almost everything would be resolved, right? If they just communicate for a few minutes. But yes, she's like this, right? She refuses to ever actually see anything happening to her next door, right? Completely refuses to it. And then, stuff happens, right? And later on when Jinx and they're fighting, Jinx also, she's kind of cray-cray, but she can also, just listen to her sister, right? For like a minute. And then, they probably will resolve it. But she's like, "No, I have to kill, right?" So I find the character to be very one-dimensional too, The characters are quite one-dimensional in that sense, because of the reason. Makes them kind of one-dimensional also, right? But anyway, the writing is not that good. And if you compare it to, again, just to point out here, I'm almost being hyperbolic. I don't find the writing to be the worst thing ever, right? It's not like King's Game or something. It's not the worst thing ever, right? But it's not the best thing either. And it certainly is not as written as like Osama Ranking, RC, or whatever last year, right? It's certainly a much, much better TV media, right? It's a very general topic here. It's best written media TV show, you know what I mean? So, arguably, you can put in live action here then. the category is just best written show, right? TV show. Yeah, you can put in many shows here. But certainly the writing is poor of Arcane, and the issue with I know people gonna defend it. People gonna be like, oh, but no, it's best. The issue is too, right? Arcane looks good and has a huge backing, right, from the government, and also huge backing from generally, the fans of the game. So when you say that, well, actually, isn't the Caitlyn and V romance relationship thing kind of way too shoehorned and too fast? Oh, but like it's so well animated. Like, who cares, right? I'm saying that the writing, the dialogue, and the character development, I'm saying that's weak. People are like, oh, but you don't understand, like, you just like anime because of, like, this effect of boobs. No, I'm saying that the storyline, you know what I mean? So, I never seen anyone, honestly, being able to defend the writing of Arcane. People always defend and saying that, yeah, it's cliche, but it's well done. And that's probably what I can agree with the most, right? On a writing standpoint, yeah, it's very cliche. It has that Blizzard feel to it, which is like, it's very cliche, but it's kind of it's well produced. You know what I mean? It's well-produced cliche stuff, right? But it's certainly not the best writing. I can't take anyone seriously saying that. Generally speaking, probably the weakest part of Arcane. I said earlier, pacing is one bad, right? And then, they don't even nominate any anime. They're just Disney stuff, and you know how it is. Best writing movie. Yeah, the only thing. This also wins everything because, they pay for it. Arcane, probably, somehow. Best editorial. Actually, what if Disney? Owned by Disney, though. What if Ultron won? Yeah. Okay. I don't know why they kind of keep pushing Amphibia from Disney. Again, I think it's a pretty badly written Disney show. And I want to say it here, just one more, right? Star is a badass, okay? Star with Force of Evil, that's a great Disney show with about a badass, magical princess with puppy with laser beam and so on. I honestly love that show, okay? I watched every episode, I was like, man, I love Star. I watched a movie, I was like, Star is some good shit, okay? Amphibia is kind of like the next show they did after Star, right? It is so much weaker. And the show before Star, I would say, was Wonder Over Yonder, which is also really good, really. I love Wonder Over Yonder. But Amphibia, honestly, I thought a very weak Disney show. It's just like Isekai, middle toast Isekai, yeah, weak Isekai. It tries to be an anime, and it's just badly written. But anyway, so yeah, Arlo, love that's good. Tom and Jerry, come on, Jesus Christ. At least What If is pretty interesting, but it takes a lot from the comic, right? So What If is when they rewrite, what would happen if, in this case, Ultron won, right? Then they have what would happen if Captain America was a woman, and this thing so on, right? So the What Ifs is a very common or very classic Marvel comics, which they do like once a year, 2 a year, when they write, they rewrite some storylines. Like in this universe, I don't know, Wolverine has 11 arms or whatever, right? In this universe, the Lizard actually, everyone became a Lizard, an extra storyline, and so on. So the What Ifs, I think, are good, and I generally like them, honestly, in the comic at least, and especially one of my favorite Marvel comics is Exiles. So Exiles, that X of course, is about X-Men character that are trying to kind of, mend time-space shit, right? So they're traveling into basically what-if scenarios and trying to like fix them for whatever reason, try to like, adjust them, right? So the space-time won't like be destroyed. And it's a really good copy, honestly. It's like 100, maybe 70 volumes. I have all of them. Really, really good. About, again, an Exile is like X-Men characters, right? Inside of this other universe, kind of fighting. But what X-Men makes good too is that because the character are like basically it's like female Wolverine, whatever, Deadpool and so on, but not Deadpool. Because of that reason, the characters can die too. So Exile is really interesting and very dramatic because I'm not spoiling anything big here, but some of the characters actually do die. So even if you follow them for like 5 years, they still can kill them off because they can replace them and so on. So they actually is really interesting. But it feels like X-Men because you're following, whatever, like Gender Bender Spider-Man and so on, right? Because they have like Gender Bender Sunfire, which is a man otherwise. She's a lesbian and dates female Spider-Man and so on. But that's a really good storyline, and and then so on. But the character can actually die then. What's it more? It's like Nightcrawler's daughter. What's it more? It's Thunderbird, right? Mimic, of course, is the main character. Mimic, etc. But anyway, yeah. So it actually is really good. And the What If is, it's kind of like similar to that feeling. Okay, what happens if Ultron won and so. So I think it is pretty good. It's not the best, but again, come on, better animes. But at least it's decent, I think, honestly. And now it's the movie, but editorial though. It's a very weird category. It's very American Western editorial of it. Is the end of it? Okay, finally, my pain has concluded. Okay, yeah, no, that's the wrong thing. So that is, guys, the Annie Awards. Amazing. No more Attack on Titan. No Mushoku Tensei. No Osama ranking. No Dragon Maid, right? Nothing like that. No Gabby. Gabby wasn't the news. No Kanna. No Nesco. Nesco got boob stuff, so of course it can't be. But anyway, I mean, let's just summarize it quickly, right? Arcane won like every category it was in, which really shows you that you have to be cynical, right? And I keep saying that, and I think Spider-Man's gonna fall on my face again. I keep saying that, right? That, you know, that is like the big reason, right? You get cynical, I think. If you ignore the fact that Riot Games and Disney is paying for the actual award thing, so they're paying for themselves to win, right? If you ignore that, it still feels cynical, or not cynical. I mean, you know, reasonable mind would make you think that, well, okay, it wins like 10 out of 10 categories. And the reason that is so bad, of course I mentioned earlier again, is that immediately, I'll say it again here, in my brain I'm like, but it certainly shouldn't win like best voice acting. Well, it certainly should have been best writing, right? And then, as I mentioned earlier, that makes me question, was it really the best director, right? So it has an issue, right? That it constantly has like an issue of, you know, like, yeah, because it really reminds me, as the mention of, for example, when they had Megalobox. I remember what year it was. It was the first time I ever did this kind of video stream, and I was roasting Crunchyroll, and they had Megalobox in like every category, like seriously. They had Megalobox in like, I think like 14 out of 16 categories, like something like crazy, like seriously. It was like 90% Megalobox in every nomination Megalobox was in it. However, it won 0, and it was hilarious. They had it in every category, almost except like one or two categories, right? And it won nothing. So it was so shoehorn. You see how the production and whatever, the owners, right? They tried to force the anime, and then no one voted for it. No one agreed with them. Yeah. So the people vote and completely ignored what they wanted, right? And it was so obvious. Not only did they put it again in every category, no one agreed in any category. It was crazily hilarious. How insane it was. And this feels similar too, right? They like Arcane every category. You know what I mean? It's so obvious that it's bought, right? It's so obvious that if you take these things seriously, you're crazy, right? And again, I just want to point out here, I don't hate Arcane. I don't find it that bad, right? You know what I mean? Like I probably would give it like an 8 out of 10 maybe, right? 7 out of 10. I don't know. I don't think Arcane is the best animation, so to speak, right? I think there are a lot better animes, for example. But is it better than, for example, Castlevania? I think so. No, I don't like Castlevania. I hate Castlevania. No, I think Castlevania is pretty bad after Season 2 though. Season 2, just the storyline is so weak, right? Castlevania looks still really good, but the storyline is so boring. I think after, and I like Hector. I like Hector's game again. Great game, Curse of Darkness. Castlevania 2, PlayStation 2, great game. But I also really like, of course, Lament of Innocence, etc. But yeah, like it's just they just kind of like faltered, right? After that. But anyway, my point is that Arcane for me, maybe it's like an 8 out of 10, right? I probably wouldn't, if it was an anime, so to speak, if I made my own animation list, right, and I put all the animes and CGI and games and everything, I wouldn't, have it in my top 10, right? For many reasons why. But it doesn't mean it's the worst thing ever. But it certainly is not the best in voice acting or in writing in particular. Nor is it the best in like direction when you have so much bad pacing in that show, right? Certainly not. Or characters either. As I went over, and I want to stress the point, right? Objectively speaking, it has the most lamest characters. No, but it has the least extravagant characters, right? That's an objective point. People can also say, oh, Arcane fan, you hate it. No. But objectively speaking, if you play League of Legends and you know the actual roster of the game, right, it is very, very clear that Arcane has taken the least visually extravagant character into the show. Why? Well, as I explained earlier, right, because I work for it in the profession, right, it takes a lot more time, right, to animate like Urgot and his Spiderlings and Eliso. It's much more work and effort and budget to have the monster characters in Arcane, right? So in Arcane, they have only basically included humans and Heimdallr. They have humans and Heimdallr. They have included the most basic design characters because they look, the easiest to animate, right? And that is an objective fact. People can always say, no, it's an objective fact. You have all these flying dragons and shit, right? In League of Legends, you have the Shogat monsters, the Void monsters. You have this stuff. You have the crazy clown guy, and they have all of this, crazy, much more, character design is much more out there, right? And not a single one of them is included in Arcane. Arcane has the human character. It has the Caitlyn and so on. The character has just basic a human with some hat on her and a scar, right? It's the most basic human design they have, and that's an objective fact. You can still say that you like V, it's a sexy wife or whatever, fine, right? But this is compared. It's very briefly compared. Okay, so it's the last point to that. We lol, and I'm talking about the game, right? This is classic V. Which I do like her. Like, here's the classic V. This is the classic game V. Here we go. With the big arms now. Big chick with big arms now. Yeah. Let me just do it listed. Come on, computer. Yeah, it's crashed the stream. Sorry about that. Yeah, it crashed earlier, right? So I'm a little. Open up my folder and all that fun stuff, Open file location. Yes, I just have to. No, not that one. Open. See, now I'm stuck in this like computer issues. It's in that folder. Computer issues. This. Okay, so here's V, right? This is the classic V. But I played a game where she was introduced, right? So I remember V. She was introduced a while back, but so this is kind of how she looked the first time, right? And I like playing V. Don't get me wrong. It's a good jungler, and I play a lot of jungle. So I like V, right? So I don't mind V. But let's go to like another jungler that I like, right? That I played a lot. This is actually one of my best junglers. Used to be my main boy for a long time, and I have the mecha skin on him. So on my main account, I used to play this character a lot. When I played League of Legends for high rank to speak. This was my guy for most of the time, okay? So this is Kha'Zix, okay? And the Mecha Kha'Zix, Scyther, yeah. Mecha Kha'Zix, right? So if you compare these two characters, right? You have to say that if you can't deny the fact that V is like a woman with mecha, arms, right? And then this is like a kind of Scyther bug monster. Clearly, and this is an objective fact again, I'm talking about, the money here, right? And I work for this in real life, right? It's of course much harder to animate Kha'Zix. Because you have to make the wings shit, you have to make this shit happen, right? So it's much more time and budget. So if Kha'Zix was gonna be the main character, it would have been, it would have been way more expensive. It's just like how it is. Let's see here. Let me just get a list here, like top 10, craziest character design in League or something. And the first thing you go like is sexy characters. If you Google like what has the most craziest, character design, right? The most like out there monster design. The first thing you get is like a bunch of people complaining about all the boobs. The first comment immediately is like, oh, this character has too big, oppas and so on. That's the first thing you get, right? I just love that. But here's a good example, okay? This is a good. I actually like playing this character support. So here is Level Molokai, he's like a freaking, monster tree. Nothing looks like this character in Arcane, right? Clearly not. And here's another character I really love playing a lot. Back in the days when she was a new character, freaking one of my favorite young characters. Shyvana, waifu dragon, right? Pretty badass, like a dragon waifu. But look at this character again. So you have an evil tree guy, big trees, he throws like sapling shit, right? We have like this dragon waifu, she has this huge, wings and shit, she can transform into a dragon, all these characters that are more crazy, right? That are interesting design. None of them is in Arcane, right? None of them is in Arcane. Arcane has, here's a schoolgirl basically, Arcane is like, here's a character that looks like just a normal human. Like, let's be honest here, right? I know Caitlyn is a very popular character in the game. It's a typical Odyssey character, right? But look, this is like a typical Caitlyn you see in the game, right? It's just a woman in a cop uniform, right? Like, what's the creative character design here? I'm not saying that Caitlyn isn't like well-written character or whatever. I don't think she's a very written character, but no matter her personality, right, or if she's a good game character, I think she's a pretty cool. It's a fun character to play the game. Estrel is my main though, as I'm bottom as an agency, but in bot, but like, is this interesting character design? It really isn't. It's just a woman in a cop uniform, okay? And of course, I know in the actual Arcane and in the game, her default outfit is a little different. But seriously, her default outfit is basically this thing in the game too, right? A little top hat is purple, right? She's just like a normal human woman with a sniper rifle, right? Or some kind of rifle, yeah, some kind of gun. She's and of course her character is a cop, right? Her character is like a guard. She's just a medieval woman guarding a fort, you know what I mean? She's the most basic, like, here's a rich girl that wants to be a guardian or something, protecting this prison or whatever, yeah. She really has a very, very plain design. Incredibly boring design. And I think that in the game too, so yeah, be angry at me. I think it's a very boring game design, like, in the game, right, from visual standpoint. I will show you, this is my skin, this is how I play, and I have a skin on it too, This is the character I play, if you haven't played League, this is the guy I play for bottom, and this is the skin I have too. Come on, this is a real bot character, freaking stargazing Estrel, a sexy pretty boy, a Bishonen guy with, and he's all like, oh, my gauntlet guides me where to go, and so on, no, but, that's a cool guy. No, Estrel is pretty basic too, it's like a pretty blonde guy, pretty basic guy too, honestly. But anyway, objectively speaking, right? Again, they have introduced only the most basic characters, not from a writing standpoint, not from a visual standpoint, in League. So if anything, where you really can say that League is not achieving hard, and again, from an objective standpoint, where people can argue how much they want, but again, from like the actual mathematics of it, right? The character design, yeah. Because they purely took the characters that are easy to animate. They didn't include any of the crazy characters. They have zero Shogat or whatever, right? They have none of these like wackadoodle characters. And of course, anime don't have issue, right? Anime, you can watch an anime with way lower budget, right? That isn't necessarily even good animated, but the character in the anime look way more crazy, right? Because they have that dragon chick, right? And they have the wood girl, and they have the whale man or whatever. So no, that is bullshit. That's probably the most bullshit of all of them. That Arcane would have good character design, because it really doesn't have that, and it's just so boring character design too, right? Now just take a random anime, okay? Give me a random anime. Check off this is the end of the stream. Just give me like a random anime. Last year, okay? Like a decent anime. I'm just googling. Give me like some random bullshit, right? Where they don't look too normal. This is too many humans here. I just want some like random list of. But this is good. This is some random collection of. This is perfect. Here's a random collection of animes last year, right? I'm not arguing if they're good or bad, the actual animes, but look at these animes here. So we have Mushoku Tensei. That has, a badass ab lady, right, with big abs, so no, but big boobs, whatever. No, honestly, interesting character design, some of them. Quintuplets, okay, fine, there's like 5 quintuplets, okay, maybe not more. There's 5 humans. Horizon, Horiyama's the humans. Dr. Stone, interesting weird, right, blah, blah, blah. And Zero, tiger, cat, girls, monsters, right, bunnies, so on. Slime, holy shit, man, slime. We got all these monsters, right, like the whole meeting of Valpurgis and the slime, with all the demon lords and the personalities and the different powers and all that. Much more interesting. Okay, Eurocamp is like whatever. Okay, and then you have of course Promised Neverland, right? All these monsters and shit, and of course Total Season, but still, and of course Attack on Titan, right? With all the monsters and the demons and so on. Yeah, how can you claim that Arcane is better than all of these animes from a character design standpoint? When Arcane basically has like, oh yeah, a lady in a cop uniform, like yeah, this is like Arcane. Yeah, a lady in a cop uniform. Yeah, great. It's like it's like yeah, really like compared to the anime with like 25 different races of like vampire, demon, chicks, and this thing and this and unis and for example, slime is obviously much better character design, and even like random animes like Skate, right? Where they're all like skateboarding and they have all this like fabulous design of it. So on. Come on. No. We is like mecha, steampunk mecha humans, right? But honestly, it could have had so much more interesting characters. Even the human characters are lacking. Like, where's my Darius? Where's my Set? I play top a lot. where's my muscular top players? Where is my beefy top guys, right? But honestly, I say the last point here about Arcane. Maybe I should make an Arcane review, right? I said earlier, but I said again. I was disappointed, right, that they talk about like Noxus and so on, but I really felt they missed a mark there from a gaming standpoint to include more of those characters. Like, why wasn't it like, oh, those Noxians? Then you see like a 3-minute scene of Darius being like, yeah, that's right, I'm a Noxian. You know what I mean? I wish they had a little more of that typical fan service where you actually see the characters doing something, right? Or they mentioning the Jordan or something. I mean, you see a little bit of Timo running around, I feel that the anime really missed that. The animation here, yeah, they really missed having a lot of those. There's so many characters in League of Legends, right? They could have easily made more of a montage of the characters. But seriously, the episode 1 could have been like, here's a little montage of something happening in the world or something, or, when someone mentioning the other country, Caitlyn could have been like, oh, I visited Noxus one when I was a kid and I met this guy with a big axe, or they could have talked so much more about the other characters. So I think that, honestly, was a really big mistake. People loved it anyway, but me, as an actual, gamer that played a lot of League, I was like, man, this TV show has like 0 of my characters I play. I think it's kind of amazing that I don't think I play a single character that is in Arcane. Maybe I'm salty. That's the truth. I'm salty. Where's my main character? Where's my main guys? But honestly, yeah, I don't think Arcane had like a single character that I play in the game at all. I mean, of course I play them once in a while, but actually play, right? I don't think Arcane had a single character, even if it is like 20 or so character, right, from the game, roughly speaking. I don't remember exactly how many they are. Timo is shown in one page, right, so on. But yeah, like they didn't have a single character that I played whatsoever. I don't think so. No, I was like, no. Maybe I forget someone was mentioned, but I don't think so whatsoever. They do mention, the other countries and so on, but no, they don't show those characters. That's kind of weird, honestly. It's like a salty side point about Arcane, but I just don't get it. Yeah, honestly speaking, I don't get it. Why didn't they show a little bit of some other characters? Or maybe not show it, but they could even done the whole thing where, as I mentioned, a kid could have been like, oh, I was in that city when I was a girl with my mom, and then we saw this guy with a big axe, and he had a twin brother that was like Gary too, They could have talked about some of the other characters. I heard about this evil clown or something, They could have dropped some hints, right? Oh, have you heard about that guy with like he hunts people and puts up their mark or something? Or that guy that builds like evil shit in the forest. Or they could have, mentioned. They could have done. They did it a little bit, very little bit, very very little. Did they name drop or talk about other characters? They could have done a lot more. I felt. I honestly, I would love more fan service, and I mean that kind of fan service, yeah. More boobs too, but especially the fan service. Better guys, subscribe, press the like button, right? Sorry that it crashed earlier, but luckily the PC didn't die. I was genuinely afraid the PC died there because there was like a blue screen crash. I haven't seen it in years. It was like white screen crash. It was very very strange. Better guys, tomorrow Gender Band Day, right? Of course, I love Fantasy Knockout, great anime. And also Kenya, which is okay, I guess. I suppose. But anyway, check out, of course, I think last week the best thing was Kurogal, Marin-chan. I love Marin-chan. And I was like, Marin-chan, she's the ultimate anime best girl ever. And then last Saturday, she comes and like, I'm a Kurogal now. She's all tanned up. And I was like, oh, you had like a heart. I was like, oh my god, Kurogal Marin. It was so good. Check it out if you get to see the best girls. Oh, it's so good. There we go, so you're gonna have a great day. Tomorrow then, gender bender stuff, and later tonight more Twitch, Elden Ring. I'm basically beating the game now. I think I have 1 battalion left. Yesterday I defeated Melania, right? The hardest boss in the game. People